I got to tip the cap to anybody that played receiver back then, 80s, 90s, because
Different times.
that was the no, like if you were a receiver and you were willing to go across the middle too, you got to tip the cap to it because that's back when they could take your head off.
Yeah.
Yep.
Uh, like obviously there's a bunch of rules in place now where you can't really lay the wood that hard anymore, especially with the helmet to helmet stuff
Yeah.
and everything else. But back then, if you're willing to do that, I tip my
Oh yeah.
cap to you.
I have some stories from my dad, like through like practices and games and like even like growing up as a kid and NFL stories. Like definitely a different game. Definitely a different game for sure.
Yeah, and I remember Fred Biletnikoff, they had the whole Stickum thing. So I don't know I don't know if they used it in college or not, but I know it was actually something they used
Yeah.
in the NFL. They actually used that. So I
Who
don't know if
I'm
I would doubt Joe Paterno would ever let guys do that. But then again, if it wasn't like against the rules, then maybe they did. I don't know. But
Yeah.
your dad didn't wear gloves either. I don't think any receiver wore
Yeah.
gloves back
No.
then. So
No.
that's
So
another
so that
thing.
that actually brings yeah, that brings up a funny story at Penn State. So I guess Joe Paterno, he was like the biggest non-believer of gloves. And back in the day, like I mean, those receiver gloves probably didn't do anything. Like there's probably no stick to them. It was just I don't know. Not many guys did wear them, but my dad would say like if there was a receiver, tight end, running back, whatever, that was wearing gloves and they dropped a ball, Joe would have a fit and make him take it off, take the gloves off, and like the whole team would have to take gloves off if they had them on. So yeah, definitely a different time period from that aspect as well. Because you look at the gloves today, I mean they are like, and I've never really felt what Stickum feels like, but it can't be too far off of what these gloves are. I
Yeah.
mean, like you wouldn't see like these Odell Beckham Jr. catches or Justin Jefferson catches without gloves. Like
Yeah.
they give you a lot of room for error for sure.
Yeah.
Like I have small hands and I've made some pretty decent catches in my day. And I have like pretty small hands. Like if you think Kenny Pickett has small hands, mine are probably an inch smaller.
Yeah.
So gloves nowadays absolutely make a difference. Back in the 80s, probably not much. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
definitely technological advancements. I do want to just
Yeah.
interject briefly on a little bit of football history because we did bring up the whole Stickum thing. I believe his name was Lester Hayes. I think he was defensive back for the Raiders. And that guy, if you don't know who that is, look him up for those watching. This guy would put so much Stickum on, he would have it all over his body to the point where it was just like dripping off of him. And I believe he led the league in interceptions with I think he had 13 picks
Ooh.
in a season, and he would just be covered head to toe and stick them everywhere. Um, just a little bit of fun historical value there with the whole Stickum conversation. There were definitely people that pushed it to the forefront and
Yeah.
for sure got it banned.
Well, I remember. So I started playing football when I was 6 years old, and so that would have been like 2001. So I remember back in 2001, like the gloves back then, like they were getting there, but they still weren't like crazy. So I remember growing up, like my dad was really adamant about me not wearing gloves either. Like he was like, "Oh, you don't need those. Like they don't help at all." So really, the only time I would wear gloves would be like if it were like really cold out, which don't even help. They actually probably make it worse, but that's neither here nor there. So I didn't wear gloves until um, probably about eighth or ninth grade. Um, which when I started wearing them, I was like, "Holy crap! I've been missing out." And ever since then, like growing up, I would be really particular about my gloves. I remember in high school, like I had my practice gloves. I had like a couple pair of practice gloves, and I had a couple pair of game gloves. So I probably spent like a couple $100 on gloves in high school. And like for my game gloves, I did not let anything or anybody touch like the palm part of my glove. Like on game day, like everybody's like giving each other high fives and dapping each other up. Like I would not do that. Like if somebody gave me a high five, I would literally give them a high five with the back of my hand because I did not want to lose any of that stick. And I did that through like college and everything. So I was really particular about my gloves. And I know a lot of guys are too, but I probably took it to the next level.
Yeah, I actually have. I think these are from the first time I played. Like I played some semi-pro here in State
Yeah, there
College.
you
I
go.
think these were my gloves for that. And then my high school gloves, I think, were just Nikes. And then I got these for like I played in an alumni game, and these are like still really sticky. And these are a few years
Yeah,
old, but
yeah, they last. I have a whole drawer full. Like it's back at my parents' house, like in my old room. But like if you open up this drawer, it's literally stuffed with gloves, like from high school, from college, and I forget how we figured it out, but I think we were just at my parents' house one day with my son and going through like my old room, and I brought one of my gloves out, and he like loved that. So now he loves football gloves. He'll just like he puts everything in his mouth and like just play with it. Like he's really into like
yeah,
just different textures. So he loves like the stick and he loves football gloves. So I'm starting him young. I'm getting him in the thought process of hey,
good,
football gloves are good. Yeah,
good. Well, Penn State will be recruiting him here in what 2038 is the year.
something like that sounds about right.